Welcome, everyone. It is Sunday, November 27th, 2022. I can't believe November flew by. The Sunday after Thanksgiving. I'm Robin from Western Mass, and this is the Morgellons Call of the Week. So welcome, everybody. You know, Morgellons is such an isolating, overwhelming disease, and we are so blessed to have this community to connect with, to have Richard Kuhn's and the coming 12th edition of his book, the diet, the King Diet, and all the protocols in Richard's book. Richard never stops learning. He never stops exploring solutions, keeping up to date with things. We are his research team, and we help him when we find out something. We email him about it. He looks into it deeply. So, you know, I feel that Richard is a world expert on Morgellons. I think he's the world expert. Personally, I think that. But, you know, you can form your own opinions if you hang around long enough. And just like we research anything, do your research. So, but at this time, I would love to welcome Richard Kuhn, the author of How to Get Your Life Back from Morgellons and Other Skin Parasites.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. It's a pleasure to be here. The program is based on the diet that I discovered that saved my life, and many have claimed it has cured them over the years, but there is no cure, because once you go off that diet and abuse it, it comes back, you know, there's just no cure. All right, so today's topic is, I guess, a rather bland topic. We're going to talk about size and nano, and I thought we should deal with this topic because when we're dealing with nature's gift, which is the deepest cleaning, cleansing solution that I know of in the whole wide world, we're talking about small, tiny, sub-nanoparticles. And many people, many of you perhaps, know things that you've read and heard and searching for answers to get your life back from Morgellons, have heard about it being a nano kind of disease, nano size, that these nanobots invade your body from, you know, created from chemtrails or whatever is a theory. And therefore, you should stay away from anything that is small, like nano, because you could be afraid that it would simply aggravate or complicate or make things worse when it comes to dealing with Morgellons, like it would combine with the nanobots that might already be in your body to make things so much worse. And I have no feeling one way or the other. I am not an expert in nanobots. I don't know much about them. In theory, from AI intelligence, that's AI, is artificial intelligence, and they are a thing to be reckoned with. I mean, modern science, they use these nanobots and create them to go into your arteries and perform different functions. So there are many highly productive outcomes from nanotechnology. But when we're dealing with nature's gift, the last thing I want anybody to do is confuse it with nanobots. So we're going to talk about size. We're going to start thinking about size to get down dirty and gritty. So let's take a look at just some different numbers and ways of looking at things. Like, for instance, this human hair that I'm holding in my hand, I doubt that maybe you can even see it on the camera. It is basically 0.016 to 0.05 millimeters. This is a rather thin one, so I would think it's more like 0.016 or 0.020 millimeters in thickness. All right, so number-wise, that comes down to about 15,000 to 50,000 nanometers. Okay, so nanometers is kind of a pretty small measurement. All of us are familiar with paper. Okay, now this is easy to see because we're looking at this side. But if we turn on edge, this is, you know, a typical piece of copy paper. And this is 0.07 to 0.1 millimeters thick. That's 70 to 100,000 nanometers if we put it into reference. Now, there are 1,000 nanometers in a micron. So let's compare it to, say, an organism that we're familiar with, and that is columbella. Columbella are about 250 microns in length. So you get the idea that columbella is pretty big when we're talking about nano. It's way beyond nano. So let's go back down to nano. Now, nanobots that you might see and are generally 50 to 100 nanometers in length and size, and that's about 5 to 10 atoms thick. So you look at a nanobot, this would be like 50 to 100 nanometers across and 5 to 10 atoms thick, being that way. So they're kind of generally, I guess, basically flat and very thin devices that can be created. So when we look at our nature's gift, the particle size is 0.6 nanometers. 0.6 nanometers. So that is like, well, I was going to show you what a piece of graph paper looks like. And if we're looking at size, we'd be looking at, like I said, a nanometer. There are like 70,000, just the thickness of a human hair or copy paper or a piece of copy paper, the thickness of a copy paper. Now, the size of nature's gift is 0.6 nanometers. That is 6 angstroms in size. There are 10 angstroms in every nanometer. That is atomic. So we are no longer, when we're dealing with nature's gift, we're dealing with basically elemental carbon in it's in bioform, because nature's gift is formed with corn extracts, rice, and oats, and natural alcohols combined together. Now, all of that is matter and is large stuff. But when it gets combined together the certain way, poof, it becomes carbon atoms. That is atomic size, not nano, but atomic. And the good news is that being carbon, it actually has the ability to go deep into the skin. It's not like a nanobot, all right? It's much smaller. In fact, it is the fundamental elemental atom that we are talking about. And just like graphite does not combine except with extreme temperatures and pressures chemically, it's inert, so is nature's gift. It is inert, It doesn't care what's around it. It doesn't care if there's an acid there. It doesn't care if there's a base there. It doesn't care what the pH is. It will go deep in the skin, and the analogy I've often used is that when we get a little tiny pebble in our shoe, what do we have to do? We got to take our shoe off and get rid of that pebble, because you've got this little tiny pebble weighing no more than a couple grams dictating your behavior. And that's what happens with the nature's gift. It goes into the skin, it irritates organisms, it irritates bacteria, it irritates parasites, it irritates viruses, fungus, and they have to leave. They have to, just like you have to take your shoe off and get rid of that pebble, they have to leave your skin. And so that's how it works.
So I think you got the point across. It's really small.
Tiny, yeah.
Teeny tiny.
Right. Yes. Okay, well, that concludes this portion of the program.